Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for everybody tuning in and who are watching this later. I'm Steve, and the admissions coordinator for the School of Pharmacy, and we'll let um, Gene introduce himself, and we'll just kind of go around the table.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Gene Pegler. I'm the managing director of our graduate programs here at the Block School. So excited that I get an opportunity to talk with you guys. Hopefully, this will allow you to kind of find out a little bit more information about our Pharm.D MBA program and lead to some of you guys maybe taking advantage of it. So thanks a lot.
And Shelly?
Hello, everybody. I'm Shelley Janez. I work in the Student Affairs Office with Amanda and Steve, and certainly I work very closely with Jean Pegler as well, and helping the pharmacy students be able to meet up with Jean and or make sure that their curriculum is going to work right with the MBA program so that they can get finished either simultaneously or sometimes a little bit after they graduate. It kind of depends on how the schedule falls out. So, but I know, I think I know everybody on here. So thanks for coming this morning.
Right, and Daryl, then Tyler.
Hey everyone, my name is Daryl Monroe. I'm a second year pharmacy student with UMKC, and I'm here located on the Columbia campus.
I'm Tyler England. I'm also a second year student. I'm on the Kansas City campus, and I think I'm like 6 classes into my MBA right now. So happy to be here.
All right. Well, Gene, you want to start us off with some highlights for the MBA program?
Sure. Just to kind of give a little bit more information about the MBA, how the professional MBA works, and things like that. So, students are typically our student population is 2 to 15 years into their professional career. So, you have a great opportunity to really build out your network a little bit as you move through the program. But students in this program have typically seen, on average, a 15 to 20% increase in their income as they move, either while in the program or as they move about 2 years out. We attribute that to our success in helping them get that MBA. So, for our pharmacy students, what we've seen over the years, and just to back up a little bit, I've been here about 18 years, with the Block School about 14, so I've seen a lot of students go through the Pharm.D MBA agreement we had in the past, and now with this revamped, I think, better way of really getting this to you guys. But with that, our pharmacy students really are able to increase their business acumen. They're able to position themselves well ahead of their peers, because now they have not only the pharmacology and everything that goes into that, but they have this business acumen piece, where you're developing strategy and you're developing thought around how you'll move along in your career, but also while you're in the organization you're working for, how to take that job that you're doing and make it the most successful as you can. Dive into some of the business analytics that everybody talks about and thinks about these days, because everything's kind of a numbers game. And so again, that's just trying to give you the highlights here of what the MBA can do for you guys. So that's a little bit of the highlights of the MBA program. I know we'll dive deeper into some of the inner workings from there. Steve, am I okay there?
Yeah, great. And then Shelly, we had a question previous from an email about what type of jobs that an MBA can help a pharmacist land. Do you have any insight into that?
Sure. I kind of went back through and looked at some of our students and what they've been doing, and just globally some of the different careers that they've gone into. So really we're seeing, and what we hear from our graduates is that those students who, a lot of our students, about a little less than half actually every year, compete for residencies and fellowships around the country. And so certainly there are, more pharmacy students than there are residencies or fellowships. And so certainly we've seen some of the students that get their Pharm.D MBA at UMKC, they actually are better positioned to be able to compete for some of those residencies and fellowships. Certainly they've got that on their resume. And just like Jean Pegler said, their business acumen. So really, when I think about that, I think about they're stronger in accounting, they're stronger in marketing, human resources management. So those students that are able, some of the students that have finished with the MBA, we have seen them actually go on to become more quickly, actually, if they're working in a community pharmacy setting or a hospital setting, be able to move up to becoming regional directors, particularly in a community setting, district managers, or directors of hospital pharmacy settings. We've also had students who, they were planning or thinking about, if community pharmacy was something that they wanted to do, opening their own community pharmacy settings. We've had some students have very good luck with that. And if they've completed their MBA, again, some of our coursework, when you look at the curriculum, we do have leadership management, and we also have certainly some business administration courses that our students take, but it's certainly, more for the generalist level, because more of our coursework is focusing on, pharmacists and pharmacology and pharmacotherapy. For those students that have completed the Pharm.D MBA, again, they've got a much more coursework knowledge in those areas that I mentioned earlier and that Jean was talking about. The other thing too with the Pharm.D MBA is it exposes our students to students outside of pharmacy, which is really very good, because then they're able to, that teamwork, we talk about teamwork all the time. So our students have to have really great ability to communicate. They are the medication experts of the team. And so again, I think having some of those graduate level classes where they're having to build some of the business plans and team building really does help. But another area the students have gone into is consulting. We've seen a number of our students that, that was something that they were aspiring to do. And those that have had the MBA, we're seeing much more stronger abilities to be able to manage the consulting business world better as well. So those are kind of just a few of the things as I looked back to see where some of our students had gone that have the MBA. So
yeah, Shelley, you really touched upon a portion of what I meant to mention as well, is that, it really does give you guys as pharmacy students, that because of the expanded group of people that you interact with, we've got a little over 500 students in the professional MBA, really does expand your network into areas that maybe you wouldn't think about, but it definitely exposes you to those folks. And even if it's not an industry that you're looking at, being able to kind of have those touch points where you're able to, meet with an engineer that works at Black & Veatch, or meet with someone else that works at an area hospital, those are all things that I think really help you long term in your career as you move forward.
Very nice. Yeah. And Dr. Stoner, if you have anything to add, you've seen a lot of pharmacists come through, feel free to shout it out. And then Tyler, do you have plans for your MBA, or what you're going to do with your MBA?
I do, yeah. Actually, something that's not been mentioned. So I guess similarly with the fellowship idea is what I want to do, but I kind of aspire to get into the pharmaceutical industry and get involved in some sort of clinical research. There's a lot of capacities. There's roles like medical science liaisons, or roles that are really the master of the clinical trial. And obviously in an industry like that, having business knowledge is essential, because every decision, whether you want it to be or not, is driven by the dollar. And I found that already in my brief time, that just being able to have the conversations that I wouldn't get to have in pharmacy school, or helping prepare me for conversations that I will have in those settings. And I've had an internship with Merck already, and I laugh that I applied to these my first year, didn't get in, and I put my MBA on my applications second half of my internships. And actually at Merck, I applied to multiple internships. And once I updated my resume and applied to the new one, that's the only one I got a hit back for. And it was because I had the MBA on my my application. And I hadn't even started yet, but they were like, "Oh, you're interested in this? Great." And I think that since I've been in it, I've learned a lot. And again, I'm fresh. It's just a lot about knowing how to handle those business conversations, and then being able to apply the clinical to it, which obviously we get that in pharmacy school, but the business side is a whole different thing. And I've enjoyed it a lot.
And how about you, Daryl? Got plans yet?
Yeah, I think I have plans. Not sure where particularly. I know right now I'm interested in like managed care pharmacy and also industry pharmacy. And then also I've been exposed to like the PBM industry. So I had an internship with Express Scripts. And that was a completely different experience for me. And it happened before I was in pharmacy school. So I didn't know anything analytical, business data driven besides in pharmacy. So getting that exposure, I think that's what really drove me to want to obtain my MBA. seeing pharmacists work in positions with data analytics and seeing how the difference between a dollar and the clinical solutions, how all that ties into play. I thought an MBA would definitely help me along with that. So that's what really drove me to pursue the MBA. So those are the kind of things. And also, like Tyler said, leadership positions too, driven in that as well. I think the MBA would give like a lot of experience to help us pharmacy students with that. As he said, like we get clinical knowledge in pharmacy school, but the MBA provides a whole nother realm of things that we can get exposure to as well.
Good answer. Sounded like you guys rehearsed that a little bit. That was nice.
I got one more quick thing to add too. I think you don't have to do this. You can do this after pharmacy school. And I think when you're talking in interviews, if you can say that I could manage a Pharm.D and an MBA at the same time, I think that speaks a lot to the type of person you are. And I know, I'll be honest, I'm sure Dale could speak to it. I've struggled. It's been difficult. It's not easy, but I'm surviving is like what I like to say. So I definitely will use that in my interviews in the future, because it's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do is manage 2 graduate level things. And I'm learning a lot about myself outside of the schooling. And I definitely will speak to that in interviews.
Yeah, the 3rd semester has 20 credit hours alone without electives. So you guys are doing great. Before we move on to the admission side of it, do Alex, Kellen, or Abby have any questions about what you can do with the MBA?
I just wanted to clarify. So is the MBA program and the time you spend in it the same time that you would be doing the 4-year Pharm.D program, or does it go a little bit outside of it?
It's a good segue, right, Steve? So we can do that. Yeah. So great question, Kellen. So in most cases, we can complete the degrees at the same time. So it'll be simultaneous. Some of that, though, does hinge on, just as Tyler said, your capacity to handle both degrees, your scheduling, whether you come to us with a bachelor's degree or not. And so to dive into the admissions process a little bit here, if you come to us with a bachelor's degree, so you've already completed a 4-year degree, we can have you start the program with us much earlier on in your pharmacy experience as well. And so you can kind of space things out a little bit more. If you don't have an undergraduate degree, then we usually start the MBA the summer after your P2 year. And so that's the agreement that we've set up. That's what we put in place so that you can get started fairly early on, give you the time you need to complete this degree. What we've also done is that we have 3 classes that basically cross count. So we take 2 of them. So Pharmacy 7465, Pharm 7466, and Pharm 7233, I think I got them, Shelley, are the 3 courses that we've identified that will count as electives in the MBA. We can only take 2 of those because we can only cross count about 20% of each program. So for us, because of the limitation in number of hours, we take 2 of those courses. You guys typically take those courses as part of your Pharm.D degree, and so they come in and it's pretty smooth. That leaves you with 2 other elective courses, and then our 27 hours of business coursework, core business coursework. So a total of 33 hours. 33 hours, getting that done in a 2-year-ish time frame is doable. And Tyler is maybe a little further along than Daryl, but we're probably talking about taking 1 to 2 classes in the summer, 2 classes in the fall and spring. Somehow let's tuck in another class in the summer or something, and we've got that done in that time frame that you have left in your pharmacy program. So that's how we've kind of geared it. That's how we put it together. So as far as admission, if you're a part of the Pharm.D, if you've already been admitted to the Pharm.D program, we're going to get you admitted to the MBA. That's how this works. So what we ask of you guys is we do need a new application. So we have you fill out another UMKC application at umkc.edu/apply. We have your transcripts. Shelley's team's already been good enough to get everything to us, so we have your transcripts. Once in a while, we work together with her team, with Shelley's team, or Steve, or Mary, to have your PCAT scores sent to us, and that way we can upload those into our mechanism to make sure we've got those. We ask for a resume and a 1-page goal statement. In that 1-page goal statement, this might be something to write down, guys, because I think if you keep it to this, you'll have a pretty good goal statement. And that is, we want to know a little bit more about who you are, why you want to get this degree, and what you hope to do in the future. So who are you? Why do we want to do this? And what do we hope to do in the future? And if you can articulate that, we've got a pretty good essay. My faculty committee will like that a great deal. And as long as you're doing well in pharmacy, we shouldn't have any reason not to accept you into the MBA. So it's a pretty seamless process. We've tried to make this convenient and as easy as we can from an application standpoint. And we truly welcome you guys to take a look at this and give it a shot.
And in the Pharm.D program, you have to do 8 credit hours of electives as well. And so certainly some of those, what Gene was talking about too, students, we have there's a listing, it's not a comprehensive list, but there are a list of electives, and some of those are in the MBA program certainly. And so students who take some of their coursework that's in the MBA courses, we will count those towards your 8 credit hours of pharmacy electives. And so again, you're, being able to cross transfer both for the MBA, they're taking some of our coursework and then we're taking some of your coursework that way, so that you're feeling like, okay, I'm making some headway and I'm able to get done. So
Daryl, Tyler, how was the admissions process? Do you have any issues? Pretty easy?
Yeah, I could go first. So this is my first semester in the MBA program. So I just started this semester. So I actually applied this summer, and it was a very smooth transition for me. I think they make it pretty easy for us, being Pharm.D students already, having your transcripts in and having access to your grades, and then having Shelly being able to cooperate that. I thought it was a pretty easy transition for me. No problems. It was good.
I'd echo that. I think between Gene and Shelly, and if you can check an email, you can get in pretty quickly. They made it very, very easy, and obviously so far well worth my time.
And you guys take the PCATs also. I mean, the PCAT scores actually are, many of the MBA programs require like a GMAT or a GRE. And so the Block School of Management has worked with the School of Pharmacy to say, we'll take the PCAT scores, and then they don't have to take that. Correct, Gene?
Right. Thanks, Shelly. Yeah, definitely. You don't have to take another standardized test, which I think is appealing to all. With the schedule you guys have, one more standardized test to study for wouldn't feel that good, right? So we make it fairly easy. Get those PCAT scores to us. Again, part of having a good, joint program, if you will, is to make this as seamless as possible for you guys as students.
Nice. Well, you talked about the credit hours. So I know Daryl's in Columbia and then Alex will be in Springfield. So how easy it is for our distance education students to complete the MBA?
Well, for right now, what we arranged and what hasn't really happened as much in the past is, for at least for Pharm.D students, since we've got 3 programs, the structure that we have to work with and Pathway certainly is that we work with the block school to make sure that we've got a section that's available for the Pharm.D students that might be in Columbia and or Springfield. So because really we're tracking those and certainly some of the way that we coordinate their fees with the MU campus or the MSU campus. So it works really well to be able to we just have to set that up on the front end. And so as we start getting more students that are in Columbia and Springfield that want to do this, it seems to work fairly well, because the block school has a what we originally called kind of an Uber Flex type of a curriculum, so that they could be able to do this around their pharmacy classes. So I know pre pandemic, certainly we were able to have students do the Pharm.D classes, and their classes, as far as we've gone along, don't conflict with the MBA classes, and their coursework is online and or sometimes in the evenings. So it does not conflict with the pharmacy class. I mean, this year, many things have moved to hybrid or online anyway. So that's kind of just changed the dynamic a bit, but it seems to work out pretty well.
Yep, Shelly. And so in future conversations, guys, if you guys want to have one-off conversations, we can dive deeper into the curriculum too. But our courses are for working adults or folks like yourself that have other things going on during the day. So you have your pharmacy classes during the day. Our classes typically meet 5:30 to 6:45 or 7 to 8:15. Typically we run an in-person and then an online section of each course by semester in the core for fall and spring. Electives, again, you've got 2 electives. We usually can find an appropriate 2 electives that are offered online, either synchronous, asynchronously, or some combination of RuFlex or UberFlex, so that we can make it all work for you guys to get the classes you need and want.
All right. So what other questions do you guys have?
So I was wondering, like, I'm sure other students are like this too. I need to fill my schedule for next semester with random electives. Would we be able to take business classes like in the spring and summer before the Pharm.D program?
And you're a sophomore right now, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys will come in and I'll answer it one way, and Jean can also respond to this as well. So for the Pharm.D for pharmacy students, they have to be, for us to count courses towards your electives, towards your 8 credit hours, you have to be in the Pharm.D program. So we wouldn't be able to allow you to count the electives from the MBA program in the spring yet, Abby, until you're admitted into the Pharm.D program in the fall. So beginning in the fall, that would be, then you could start doing that. And any student who does not already have a previous bachelor's degree, there's another level of, there's a form that you have to have filled out. UMKC has a form for undergraduates requesting to take a graduate level course form. It's very easy. I mean, we just make sure that from the advising standpoint, we make sure that this is a student that's going to be able to manage the Pharm.D coursework plus the MBA coursework at the same time. And so if we have any, if we're worried about that, we'll work with the student and say, hey, this first semester, particularly if a student's coming in first semester and they're taking biochemistry and physiology and medicinal chemistry, sometimes we'll just say, hey, let's get started on the first semester, and then let's talk about how it's going to go in the spring. So it's a very individualistic type of, we're advising the students, seeing what they're wanting to do with the MBA program as well. And then once students are, able to work out through their curriculum, then they can take courses. And the block school, certainly we've got a few that don't have upper level prerequisites on them that you could start with before being admitted into the MBA program. So sometimes students might be able to, as a P1 in the spring or a P2 during your second year, if you don't have a bachelor's degree already, then certainly if you've got a bachelor's degree, you can get started pretty quickly. But then we do wait until students finish that second year. But you can take an elective that would be part of the MBA program, as long as we've had that form filled out saying, yep, we're approving that this student can handle the level of the graduate level coursework along with the Pharm.D, and then you can start taking courses before entry. So, Jean.
I'd echo what you have to say there, Shelley. That's how we've worked it in the past, and so we'll continue to kind of down that path. If a pharmacy advisor feels you're ready for the coursework, then we can probably allow a course or so. We need to watch how many we do that way, but again, it's typically not something that we run into, so we should be fine.
Usually it's 1 and or 2. I mean, really, again, it usually depends on the student and what the coursework that they're looking at, and we get approval from the block school as well as the block school instructor. And then sometimes we make sure that the student, let's look at the syllabus for this course and just make sure what are going to be some of the requirements that you're going to have to do. If it is it going to work with your curriculum? So we're just very, we want to be really careful with the students, particularly before they get through the P2 year when it's really heavy in the curriculum. So, yep.
Good question. Kellen, Alex, any questions?
I can't remember if this was already asked, but in terms of cost, is it kind of similar to credit per course for the Pharm.D program, or what does that look like?
So
and is
there
it
is
different for if you do 4 years versus 2 years?
So there's a fee differential, and I'll try to attempt to answer it, and then Shelley, Steve, anybody can weigh in too. Our fee differential is just, we have a block school credit hour fee, so you have a graduate credit hour, and then we have additional fees like all universities, right? So with all those fees in there, we're about $585 a credit hour, and so for your 33 credit hours of block school MBA coursework, that's about where you'd end up. Estimation about 19.5 to add this to your degree. Again, we could have tuition increases next year, things like that, but around 19.5 plus some book cost of $1,200 to $1,500 in books, probably over the life of the program. So if we said 21 all in for you guys, that'd be a pretty close number to what your additional cost would be to add the MBA onto your curriculum.
And that sounds right, because certainly for the Pharm.D program, it's pretty much a regular, more of a flat fee based on what students take each semester. So you know exactly, it's not a per credit hour fee. So the only fee that is not really flat, honestly, would be the IT fee, the information technology fees. So that could fluctuate based on how many credit hours that you're taking. But other than that, students know exactly how many, what their fees are for Pharm.D. And then if they're taking a per credit hour class for the MBA program, then that gets added on. And students work with the financial aid office very closely to make sure that they are aware, yes, I'm taking an additional graduate level class. And, the assistant director and the director for the Hospital Hill or Health Sciences students, they work closely to make sure that the students can make ends meet, certainly.
All right, Daryl, Tyler, any final thoughts? Got it all covered?
I think in terms of cost, it's a fairly cheap MBA if you shop around.
Inexpensive, not cheap.
You're right.
I'm just kidding.
That's what I meant. You're right. That's correct. Inexpensive. And when I was looking at it, cost was one of the biggest factors I was nervous about. And I think when talking with Gene through it, he's like, you get to spread it out too. So it's not like the cost is in one sitting, as opposed to some of the other students are going to take the full coursework. So that was also very nice. Like, all right, when I think about it like that, I'm really taking maybe max $2,000 a semester extra, because if you can take 3 classes in MBA and the Pharm.D, I want to meet with you and figure out how you're doing that, because I'm struggling with 2. But so I think in terms of the cost, it's great because you do get to spread it out and within the summers and semesters.
I might mention, just because the spreading it out popped in my mind, you don't have to finish we can be finishing the MBA after you've completed your pharmacy degree. The one thing we can't do is get you your MBA before you've completed your professional degree. So just as an FYI there. We either complete them together and you walk out with both, or if you had one, maybe you have that one class hanging out, that's fine. We can get you done with that the summer after you're done with pharmacy.
So if somebody walks across the stage, would our announcer say Pharm.D MBA? Shelley, do you know if that would happen or?
Usually, there's lots of discussions of what might happen with commencement in the future. So I guess if we, so that I'm not sure, that could change. But right now, what happens is that students are announced based on their degree program for the school that they're graduating. Because the block school, the MBA program is the school of the block school of management, and the MBA program is separate than our graduation. Because right now our graduation is pharmacy, everything, and then block school has a separate graduation. So right now we haven't been doing both of those together. But yeah, going forward, depending on what they'll do with commencement and combined ceremonies and everything that's being discussed, I don't know. So we'll have to see.
We could probably, at a minimum, I would assume in the program, note it with an asterisk or something, also obtained MBA or something like that. Hopefully they would let us do that.
Yeah. And we get there's a big commencement program. So certainly if Abby Bavuso is finishing and she's got her MBA and Pharm.D, she'll be listed in the UMKC commencement program under both degrees, certainly. So, yeah.
And I believe you'd receive 2 different diplomas too, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Pharm.D diploma is quite a bit. It's a really big, large one as a professional degree. And then there's a UMKC diploma. It's for the rest of the graduate degree.
It's nice size, not as big as Shelley's diploma. Yes.
Right. It's all about the size. So yeah, the professional ones are a little bit, the size is a little bit different.
And I would just for Abby and Kellen and Alex and getting ready to come in the fall of 21, from our advising standpoint, we have a strong group of advisors and a really strong student success program. And so obviously with you coming in looking at doing the MBA and hopefully doing the MBA, there is added workload, as both Tyler and Daryl kind of alluded to. And so we try to stay on top of it and, identify if there's stress points, and then try to work with you and your faculty advisors to establish some contacts, review your study habits, and because neither program is easy by itself. And when you do it together, it can be stressful. So we really focus on making sure that we're giving you support, or at least you have access to the support. Sometimes you still have to ask for it, but we'll be constantly reaching out and being in touch just to try to support you while you're doing things, going through the programs. And Kellen, I'll even do it for an OU fan.
I feel like I'm not going to live this down for a while. So,
Well, I'm going to write your name. No, I'm kidding. I don't really dislike OU. In fact, with my boss being an OU fan, I have to sympathize with him. So, no sweat. My animosity goes back to the 70s. So way before your time, I'm sure. So
Don't date yourself, Dr. Stoner.
I noticed when I was getting on earlier, Steve said, Dr. Stoner's been here forever. And I was going to ask Steve for how long forever was, but that's okay. I don't want to know.
All right. Well, this has been great. Thank you for everybody joining us and for helping out. And if you do need Jean's email, just let me know. I'm happy to send it to you. And if I haven't sent it to you guys already, I will. Yeah, thank you, and have a great weekend.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Hope to see some of you in the NBA.